what we are doing, because I have gotten some responses from people, not many, really not many, but a couple of few maybe responses from people about the Hex the Patriarchy spell. How dare you do malefic magic? What are you doing? I thought you were all love and light, blah, 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 judge, 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 shame, 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 finger wag, finger wag. I've been getting it all. And I'm like, no, you don't get to scold me about my magic. That's the first thing. If you don't like it, the door's right there. You can go. But let's talk about what hexing is and why this confusion that we're seeing. So you might see things online like, don't do any negative magic, don't do any harmful magic, don't do any cursing, don't do any hexing, don't do any binding, don't do any banishing. And people bringing up the rule of three, which is the rule of three is a Wiccan concept. All right. So Wiccans practice magic. Absolutely. But Wiccans are witches, but not all witches are Wiccans. Wicca was a religion that was invented in the 1950s by Gerald Gardner. And he started this kind of what he thought was traditional magic. They got together, he and I'm blanking on the other guy's name, got together and developed a system of magic, right? So Gardnerian Wicca is what Wicca is based on. It was Wiccans in the 1950s who came up with the rule of three, right? Who came up with the rule of three. So this is not ancient history. This is not how people practice magic from the 1950s going back to the beginning of time. People did not have this idea of the rule of three. This is a new thing that was created, new thing that was thought up. So if you ascribe to the rule of three, if you are a Wiccan, it is no problem. You don't have to hex, you don't have to bind, you don't have to banish. I'm not criticizing that practice. It's not my practice. I'm a folk magician. Folk magicians have a long history of practicing folk magic with using your own internal ethics, right? What is ethical to you? So you, as we have talked about many times here, you get to decide for you what kind of magic is right for you. You get to decide what level of magic you want to do. Do you want to hex a person? Do you want to hex the patriarchy? Do you want to hex a group of people? It is up to you. One of the things that one of my teachers taught me long ago is that a witch that can't hex can't heal. And this is the concept that you must stand up, you must resist. Witchcraft has a long history of resistance. If you look at who was practicing low magic, witchcraft, folk magic, it was the common people who were being abused by people in power, right? Whether you look at hoodoo with African American enslaved people who were doing hoodoo to fight that horrific thing, that horrific system. If it is peasants in Ukraine who were practicing folk magic to protect themselves because they were serfs and they had a lord that was abusing them, these are the people who practiced folk magic. So if you are a Wiccan and if you follow the rule of three, it's totally fine. It is totally fine that is your path. And there are ways that you can resist even with that path. But if you are a folk magic practitioner, you get to do what you want and you get to do what's right for you. And looking at the face, looking into the eyes and the face of fascism, where every day we are seeing more and more rights being taken away, more and more abuse, more and more horrific incidents happening. I think for me, it's fine to practice, aggressive magic. Let's just call it that. Now, I would say when you're practicing this, one of the loopholes, you can do lots and lots and lots of loopholes with your magic. So if you are doing magic to hex some group, for example, if you want to hex rapists, right? My teacher way back when taught me, if you want to hex rapists, you are totally, and this was, by the way, a Wiccan teacher who said, you're totally in the clear because you are not a rapist. As long as you don't rape, then a hex against rapists will never affect you. If you're not a pedophile, then a hex against pedophiles. If you're not a fascist, then a hex against fascists is never going to affect you. So you can do that with impunity because you do not belong to that group and it is against them. It is not going to come back to you. I've done lots of binding spells, lots of banishing spells, never has come back to me. So the other thing I would say, if you are a hoodoo practitioners will have a little outlet, which I think is a good one, of working with hyssop. So hyssop is an herb. We sell it at the Parlor of Wonders. It is a clearing and cleansing herb. And you use it to make a tea or a wash. It's a potion. You're making like a tea and you use it to wash. So after you do the magic, you wash yourself with hyssop. This is a more Christian way of working because hyssop is a biblical herb and it is used to wash away sin. So if you have ethics that believe standing up to fascism and hexing people is a sin, you can wash yourself with hyssop to remove that negative energy if that's what you're feeling, if you're feeling guilt about it or feeling something. I'm not a Christian, so I don't use that, but I want you to know that that is available to you if you are having those feelings or if that is your practice. The other thing is too, you're doing a binding or a banishing. You can take it as far as you want it to go. You can hold back a little bit. So if you are banishing patriarchy, that is banishing a system. It is banishing a concept. So it is not working on a particular person. It is working on a concept. That is a very, I would say, no problem with that as long as you aren't patriarchal yourself. You can do that spell with impunity and you won't have any problems. If you are working on a particular group of people, fascists, rapists, people who abuse power, liars, whatever, well, be careful with liars because that means you can't lie. But whatever you want to work on in those groups, again, you can do it with impunity. Third thing I want to tell you, if you want to work on a particular person, you can work on a particular person. It is no problem to work on that person. However, you cannot do that, I would say, from my perspective, if you're going to, if it makes you feel squeamish to work on a person, don't work on a person, right? If that is too much or got a bridge too far, it's not a bridge too far for me, but some people it would be a bridge too far. So you have impunity to do that. You can do it absolutely. And if you feel like you need to do a cleanse after it, do a cleanse after it.